Imagine you are a crew member on a German U-boat prowling the vast Atlantic Ocean in 1941. For years, you have believed that underwater, your submarine is completely invisible. The ocean depths are your sanctuary, a place where no enemy can detect you. Then, one day, you hear it, a strange, sharp noise, a ping echoing off the steel hull of your boat. At first, you and your crewmates laugh it off, dismissing it as a harmless sound or a trick of the ocean. But that ping is no joke. It marks the birth of a new era in naval warfare, active sonar detection. This ping sound comes from Allied destroyers equipped with ASTIC, an early form of sonar that sends out sound waves underwater. When these waves bounce back from a submarine, they reveal its location. Suddenly, the hunter has become the hunted. German U-boat commanders, like Herbert Werner aboard U-55-7, described this first ping as the sound of death knocking at the door. From the moment the sonar operators detected the boat, they launched relentless depth charge attacks. The U-557 dove deep and ran silent, trying desperately to evade destruction. The underwater world, once a refuge, turned into a deadly trap. Over the next few years, Allied sonar technology advanced rapidly. Submarines had fewer and fewer places to hide. By May 1943, the Battle of the Atlantic reached a turning point, known as the Black May for the Germans, when dozens of U-boats were sunk, thanks largely to the improvement of sonar detection. The once confident German submarine crews were plunged into terror with every ping that resonated through the water, a constant reminder they were no longer invisible shadows beneath the waves. As the war dragged on, the strange ping sound evolved from a bewildering curiosity into a devastating weapon that changed the course of the Battle of the Atlantic. Allied naval forces perfected a system called ASTIC, an early sonar technology designed to hunt U-boats beneath the waves. Unlike previous methods, ASTIC sent out powerful pulses of sound that traveled through the ocean. When these sound waves hit a solid object like a submarine, they bounced back as echoes that were picked up by sensitive hydrophones on escort ships. By measuring the time delay between sending the sound and receiving the echo, sonar operators could calculate the exact distance to the target, and by rotating their equipment, they could determine its direction. This was a dramatic shift from the passive listening devices the Germans used, such as the Gruppenhochgerät, GHG, which relied on simply hearing noises underwater. Sonar technology was excellent for detecting larger groups and ships at great distances, but it had blind spots and could not actively track a submerged U-boat once it was hidden. The German crews believed their submarines had the upper hand beneath the waves. They thought sonar was limited to passive listening and that the Allies lacked the ability to actively locate hidden submarines. But Allied sonar improved rapidly. Innovations like power rotation systems allowed sonar beams to scan wider arcs, detecting submarines faster and reducing their chances to slip away. Dual-frequency sonar combined low frequencies for long-range detection with high frequencies for precision when closing in on a target. The revolutionary Type 147 ASTIC system, introduced in 1943, pushed sonar technology to a new level. For the first time, hunting ships held a complete three-dimensional picture of their prey's underwater position. This meant depth charge attacks could be coordinated with deadly precision. The once safe underwater sanctuary for U-boats was disappearing. No longer could submariners rely on stealth alone. They had to constantly dodge, hide, and hope their pursuers missed. German submarine crews realized this grim truth during Black May of 1943. Month alone, a staggering loss caused by the combination of advanced sonar, improved escort tactics, and new anti-submarine weapons like Hedgehog and Squid. The acceptance that they were being tracked by unseen sound waves was a psychological blow to the crews. The fear of detection by sonar ping haunted every dive and forced new tactics for survival. Despite this, the Germans continued to innovate. They developed passive sonar and hydrophone arrays to better listen and evade detection. Some U-boats deployed decoys like the Bold device, releasing noisemakers to confuse Allied sonar. Yet these countermeasures often arrived too late to turn the tide. The Allies' sonar and anti-submarine campaign effectively transformed the ocean from a hunter's domain into a vast killing field. Faced with the deadly precision of Allied sonar, German U-boat crews and engineers scrambled to find ways to fight back. They knew that their survival depended not just on bravery, but on technology and cunning. One of their key devices was called prowled, a sonar decoy that emitted bubbles to create false echoes. The idea was simple, but clever. Release a cloud of bubbles underwater to confuse the sonar operator, making them believe there was a submarine where there wasn't. These noisemakers, sometimes nicknamed bubble screens, bought precious moments for the U-boat to slip away from the U-boat to slip away from the U-boat to chisel enemy's grasp. Yet, Allied sonar operators soon trained their ears to distinguish real submarine echoes from the noise of these decoys. They focused on the Doppler effect, a shift in the pitch of the sound caused by a moving object, which the stationary bubble screens couldn't mimic perfectly. Over time, this reduced the effectiveness of prowled and similar tricks. Besides decoys, German U-boats developed acoustic homing torpedoes like the Zornkönig, designed to target the propeller sounds of pursuing sonar-equipped escorts. These torpedoes attempted to turn the hunter into prey. However, the new weapons were not without flaws. Many were slow, unreliable, or detonated prematurely, reducing their battlefield impact. German submarines also enhanced their passive sonar systems. Unlike Allied active sonar, which sent out pulses to locate targets, German passive arrays listened quietly for enemy ships' sounds, giving warning without revealing their position. The Gruppenhochgerät (GHG) was the standard setup, featuring dozens of hydrophones able to detect ships and convoys at impressive distances. This technology supported the German tactic of hunting, not hiding. However, the Germans underestimated the speed of Allied sonar advances. The Allies improved power rotation of sonar heads, developed special hydrodynamic steel domes to reduce noise, and combined high and low-frequency sonar sweeps. These developments made sonar detection quicker, clearer, and harder to evade. Allied escorts also coordinated in hunter-killer groups, combining air patrols dropping sonar buoys and surface ships with sonar. This networked approach meant once a submarine was detected, planes would keep it tracked until ships arrived to attack. Sonar faced challenges like rough seas and thermoclines, water temperature layers bending sound waves and creating blind zones where submarines could hide. Skilled German captains learned to exploit these shadow zones, and even used the noise of large convoys' engines to mask their presence. By 1943, the Battle of the Atlantic had become a war of technology, tactics, and endurance. The Allies didn't just rely on sonar technology alone. They combined it with radar, air patrols, code-breaking, and coordinated convoy escorts to systematically hunt German U-boats. Radar-equipped aircraft patrolled skies day and night, forcing submarines to spend more time submerged and limiting their ability to recharge batteries and navigate. These planes also dropped sonobuoys. The planes also dropped sonobuoys. Allied convoys travelled with layered protection, fast destroyers and corvettes equipped with sonar and depth charges, supported by escort carriers carrying anti-submarine aircraft. These groups, called hunter-killer teams, constantly scoured the ocean, relentlessly closing in on U-boat positions marked by sonar pings. German commanders faced a losing battle. Though they developed snorkels to run diesel engines while submerged and hid in thermal layers underwater, the ever-improving sonar and radar tracking steadily eroded their advantage. Every attack risked destruction. Every dive meant racing against the ticking clock of oxygen and battery power. The psychological strain on U-boat crews was immense. Their sense of invincibility shattered with every sonar ping, every depth charge explosion, every lost comrade. The ocean they once ruled had become a deadly trap, a world fraught with invisible dangers. The German High Command attempted to adapt. They ordered wolfpack tactics, groups of U-boats attacking convoys together to overwhelm escorts. But Allied convoy defense had also improved, with centralized command, air cover, and electronic countermeasures balancing the scales. By summer 1943, U-boat losses were catastrophic. Germany's submarine fleet was decimated, and the Atlantic lifelines from America to Europe stayed open. The spring of 1943 marked a critical turning point in the Battle of the Atlantic, a month, later dubbed Black May, by the German U-boat crews for the sheer scale of their losses and the irreversible shift in naval warfare. In May 1943 alone, the Germans lost 41 U-boats, more than the total number sunk in many previous months combined. German commander Admiral Karl Dönitz, stunned by the devastation, ordered a temporary halt to U-boat operations in the Atlantic. The brave but heavily outmatched crews were withdrawn to port to regroup, repair, and rethink strategy. The devastating losses were a bitter blow, but they also saved the vital transatlantic supply lines that kept Britain and the Allied forces in the fight. The tide of war shifted not only because of brilliant technology, but because sonar reduced the vast, dark oceans to a sound-detected battleground, where survival depended on reacting faster than the enemy's ping. For the U-boat crews, the once mocking laughter at the strange ping had turned to dread. What was once a mysterious noise at sea had become the heartbeat of an unstoppable hunter. Though submarines would remain a threat until the end of the war, Black May marked the beginning of their decline. The Allies held the upper hand until victory. The sound of sonar pings echoed across the oceans of World War II, a haunting reminder that in modern war, no place is truly safe. Remember this, the invisible hunters were found, tracked, and defeated, not by brute force alone, but with waves of sound that changed naval warfare forever.